Every time I watch finance videos online, it feels like everyone is making way more than me in these videos. I think the minimum salary I usually hear is $100,000 or even more. But I don't think that's my reality or a reality for a lot of other people out there. I make around $64,000 a year. And honestly, I think that is a lot more relatable for most people. Um, Obviously, some people make a lot more, some people make a lot less, unfortunately. But instead of talking about how I would build wealth with unlimited money, I want to show you exactly how I'm trying to build wealth with an average salary in America. So, living in Florida, I am currently making, I think it's $31 an hour, which comes out to be a little over 64,000. I think it's $64,480 with taxes and paying for health plans, benefits, investing through my company's kind of investment plan. I come out with about $4,000 post tax, post benefits. What usually hits my bank account is $2,000 a paycheck or $4,000 a month in total. With that, I mean, I you start to consider monthly expenses, housing. Thankfully, I am in a good position, good relationship with my family. I still live at home with my mom, dad, a lot of siblings. I have a older sister, older brother, younger brother, and with that, my older brother also has a kid, so I'm an uncle, and my brother's girlfriend also lives with us. So it's quite the houseful. But I think for the most part, we really get along. So that is what definitely helps me save a lot on housing expenses. I pay a little bit for rent. I help with the groceries and just phone bill, typical, just normal bills. Um, Car, thankfully, I just finished paying off my car last year. It was a 2021 Mazda, so I just finished paying that off. So I don't have a car payment. I'm not in debt on my car anymore. So I just pay for typical insurance, like your basic insurance for it. Which this year again, surprisingly, it went down a little bit. So I think it's around 150, maybe $165 a month if you break it down like that for car insurance. Kind of, covering health insurance. I'm pretty fortunate to have a pretty solid, health insurance plan. I think around $100 is taken out per paycheck. So we'll just say $200 a month on dental, vision, just health insurance. Food, still living at home, I'm not buying all of my food that I eat. The parents go out and buy stuff, brother, sister, whatever. But I do help a little bit, bring groceries in the house, or if I got to go pick something up specific, I'll ask, hey, has anyone need anything at the grocery store? And we kind of balance it out like that. We kind of help each other out in that way. I'd say I probably spend maybe $100, $200 on groceries a month if I were to just spitball it. And then when it comes to investing, I aim for, now obviously not everybody can do this, but this is just my kind of personal take on me making that amount of money in my situation. My goal is to invest at least $500 every other week. So 2 weeks a month, I get a paycheck twice a month. So I try to at least put in $500 each paycheck. So for a total of $1,000 a month, that would work out to be $12,000 a year. That is the goal. When I finish paying off my car, that kind of freed up another $400 a month on a car loan. So realistically, if I wanted to, I could put another $400 a month, because at that point it's like, oh well, it's kind of like freed up money. It's not free money, but instead of paying off a car now, I have that $400 to kind of play with a little bit. So whether that would be putting more money into my investments or putting more money into like a sinking fund, which I can kind of cover in a little bit. So that's kind of my monthly expenses situation. So when it comes to like what I'm prioritizing when it comes to investing, I would say the Roth IRA is probably the most important account for me, or at least what I target first. Beginning a new year, I try to max that out. I know this year it was $7,500. I think I maxed that out, I want to say in April of this year. So I was definitely a lot more aggressive, with maxing out my Roth IRA, because once you hit that $7,500 cap, you can't put any more money into it for the year. So, once I hit that, I usually take a look at my emergency fund if there was any money that I took out of that emergency fund, whether it be like, oh, I didn't have cash on me, so I needed to buy a new set of tires. I took money out of the emergency fund. I think for random reasons, I took money out of that fund, so that was a goal of mine to fill that back up to my emergency fund goal. For me, at least, I know we've talked about it in the past. Hey, a goal for your emergency fund is to get 6 to 12 months of living expenses. It's a solid baseline for a majority of people. So my emergency fund, for example, my goal was to have $10,000 in it. Maybe a lot for some people, maybe only a few months for some. It really just depends on your situation. But $10,000 I felt is a solid baseline in my emergency fund. And I was thinking, hey, if I start job searching more, I might consider putting more money into it just in case, I go to another company or I have to move cities or states, and I just have that extra buffer room of another $5,000 or another $10,000, whatever number I decide on. But as of right now, my emergency fund is $10,000. I recently just started this. I would say maybe 2 months ago. It's what they call a sinking fund. So kind of what I do around that is I set a amount of money per month to go to my high yield savings account, like a separate little tab, and I consider it like vacation, or I guess you want to call it like play money with that. So I'm continuing to invest that $1,000 a month into my investment portfolio, but I'm also trying to almost give myself $200 a month to spend on whatever I want. If I want to go on a vacation that costs $1,000, I'm going to have to put $200 away for the next 5 months. And then, when the 5 months hits, I have $1,000 in my sinking fund. I can use that money guilt-free, hassle-free on myself to go on that vacation, to go on that trip that I planned. Along with that, if your company offers it, I would highly recommend it, a 401k or a 401k similar account. My company, at least, they will take 3% out of our paycheck, nothing more, nothing less, 3%, and they will put it into their portfolio, or like their managing portfolio. And they actually match 8% of our yearly salary. So if you think about it, like if you want to break it down, like per paycheck, whatever your paycheck is, they'll take 8% of that and they'll put that into investments for you for free. So you kind of get like an 8% match, at least my position, my role. So that was great. I never really fully understood that when I got the job. I was like, well, how does their match really work? That's how it works. They take 3% of our paycheck and they match 8% of our paycheck for free. So it's free 8% money based on what you make. And another huge thing that I prioritize is avoiding lifestyle inflation. Obviously there are some areas I could spend more money or, do differently. I could move out of my family's house. I'm in a very comfortable situation where I'm at right now. I live 10 minutes away from work. Living at home saves me a lot of money, saves me a lot of stress. And it also kind of takes a little bit off my family's back, because it's just less money coming out of their pockets because I am contributing to like bills, yearly household costs. I kind of try to contribute to that. So I think it kind of helps both parties, to be honest. So I feel I'm in a, very grateful position. I'm grateful to be in that position, like I said, where I have a great relationship with my family. Not everyone has that opportunity. But if you do, I definitely wouldn't take it for granted. And, for the others who are like, oh man, I got to hurry up and move out. I still live with my family. I'm 27 going on 28. I don't really get behind the whole, oh, you got to move out. You got to do things on your own. Prices are crazy right now. Wages are pretty stagnant. If you're not in a comfortable situation where you need to move out, or like you're comfortable to move out, like you have the funds, and your living situation is horrible, you got to get out of there. If it's not like that, I mean, and you're in a great relationship with your family, stay. Like, don't obviously be a bum and not have a job. Don't not invest. Like, invest for your future. That's kind of the cheat code here. If you can save a lot of money staying at home, put that much more money into investing. It just makes sense to me. Others will hear this and be like, "Oh man, I could stay home and be a bum." Not what I'm recommending. So keep that in mind at least. Some mistakes I am still making, when it comes to living off this salary, or what I'm doing with this money. I still spend money I probably shouldn't. A few months ago, I bought a DJ controller and a laptop because I was like, oh man, 3 a.m. I stumbled upon DJing videos. I'm like, man, I want a DJ controller, and I haven't touched that in probably the last few months easily. So that was a couple $100, or probably in total almost $1,000. With between the laptop, the DJ controller, and the two speakers, on the side of it. I would say it's probably $1,000 that I spent and have barely used the product. But one thing, I guess, to not beat myself up so much, hey, I thought I wanted to buy it. I bought it. Sure, I'm not using it, but it's in great condition. It's sitting in a nice area in my room. Just it's good to go whenever I want to get back into it. So like, as long as you take care of your stuff, it should last me the next couple of years. If hey, who knows, one day maybe I want to pick it up and start DJing again. So I definitely still have things that I impulse buy, and you don't think about it, and all of a sudden a couple months later you're like, why did I buy that thing? I definitely didn't need it, don't use it, waste of money. But I guess if you think about everything like that, then you won't spend any money. So I'm definitely not perfect in that regard, but I will caution you guys that, like, hey, don't impulse buy stuff. Like, if you're considering a big purchase and you're like, man, I gotta buy this right now, like, hold off, do some more research, and give yourself a couple days. Chances are, if you genuinely didn't need it, or you were just in the moment and you thought you needed it, you give it yourself a couple days, you're gonna think to yourself, like, I'm glad I waited a couple days. I really don't even need that thing, or I found a cheaper, better option, or I don't even want to do it, etc., etc. So keep that in mind. That's a little tip for the night, I suppose. So what are my long-term goals? I think my biggest is, financial independence, flexibility, and just peace of mind. I am not a materialistic person. I don't need a huge mansion. I don't need the Lamborghinis, the fancy car. Being that I just paid off my car last year, I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off, till it blows up on me. I don't need a fancy new car every 2 years, every 3 years. Being stuck in a car payment, being stuck in debt to someone isn't a goal of mine personally. So just overall achieving, personal independence, and doing what I want to do because I have the funds for it, or I have the future funds secured, or at least I should, unless, a catastrophe happens or the market just absolutely plummets. But I think if it does that, then we probably have bigger fish to fry. I think that's my long-term goals. Quick video tonight, quickish video, 14 minutes. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a better idea of who I am, what I make a year, what are my yearly expenses. Obviously some people could have a lot more, someone could have less. Maybe they don't have to pay rent when they live at home. Take advantage of that, guys. That is probably the biggest hack that I used, or that I utilized, or currently still utilizing, I guess. If you have a great relationship with your family, if you get along, if they are willing to let you stay as long as you contribute, you pay your monthly rent, you kind of kick in, you help when an opportunity arises. It's good financially. And when people move out, I have friends where they move out, they move states, and they're lucky if they see their family once a year, if that. I'm very close with my family, so getting to see them every day. Obviously, we have arguments, we get mad at each other sometimes, but at the end of the day, like, your family's your family if you are close with them, at least, or if you're in a positive relationship with them. They're not going to be around forever, especially your parents. As we're getting older, we think about that. They're also getting older. Having that opportunity to be with them longer, especially when the opportunity arises of being able to stay home and stick around with them. I think it's a great situation all around. So getting off my little soapbox there, I think it's it for me tonight. So as always, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you.